Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
Nick Prince.
May we remind you that for the convenience of those patrons who prefer not to smoke, seating areas on the right-hand side of this auditorium have been designated as no smoking areas. Your cooperation is appreciated.
Big hello and welcome to this week's edition of Movie Madness with Nick Prince. I am Nick Prince and I'm your host for the next 2 hours. This week's a change to the previously advertised programme. A Royal Night Out will be next week instead. And this week's special tribute to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, we're taking a look at her life through the eyes of the old cinema newsreel companies. We will still take a look at the brand new official UK and Ireland box office chart and also the week's brand new releases. My email address is nickprincestudio@gmail.com and once again nickprincestudio@gmail.com. Okay, let's take a look at the brand new box office chart. Down 1 to 15, Fisherman's Friends, 1 and All. Down 3 to 14, Thor, Love and Thunder. And down 4 to 13, Beast. Non-mover at 12, Orphan, First Kill. Down 4 to 11, Elvis from 2022. Down 4 to 10, Nope. Down 6 to 9, Top Gun Maverick. Down 4 to 8, Bullet Train. New entry at 7, Bodies. Down 4 to 6, DC League of Super Pets. Down 4 to 5, number 1 no longer, Minions 2, The Rise of Gru. New entry at 4, Brahmastra Part 1, Shiva. Meanwhile at number 3 is a re-entry. Just when you thought it was safe to go back into the cinema. It is Jaws. You got it right. £524,233 in its reopening weekend.
You yell shark, we've got a panic on our hands on the 4th of July.
Yeah, they're all gonna die.
This shark?
He's got lifeless eyes, black eyes, like a doll's eyes.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Well, there you go. Now, we've got a new entry at number 2, and that is Tad, the Lost Explorer and the Curse of the Mummy.
An Egyptian sarcophagus? Mummy, let's not touch anything.
I'm sorry, you were saying?
£818,525.
You're cursed!
These curses get permanent if you don't cure them soon.
Yeah! So, what's the plan?
Let's move before it's too late.
Mummy doesn't have that much time left.
I want to see the world.
This is the police! Don't move!
Mummies are only Egyptian. You're just a sack of rancid bandages.
Thanks. I get that a lot.
What did you do to the Mona Lisa?
I fixed it.
Number 1 time. My movie of the week last week. See how they run?
Coppernick, sir. Seems he's killed him.
I didn't think it was going to make number one, but wow. I'm desperately trying to see all of it next week, if I can.
And then he was deposited here.
£1,163,484.
Sorry, sir. How much longer do you intend to hold us all hostage?
And it's British.
Or is that the idea? Gather all the suspects and interrogate each of us in turn until the mystery's solved?
Marvin Cocker-Norris, overrated playwright.
Celebrated playwright?
Oh, I'm so sorry, sir. I can't read my own handwriting.
There was an incident.
I'll kill you.
It's as good as a confession.
Let's not jump to conclusions, Constable. What do we have here? Working late, huh?
He killed Coppernick to hush up the affair. Case closed. I'm doing it again, aren't I, sir? Jumping to conclusions.
Yeah, a little bit.
You've never heard of Richard Attenborough.
A real-life detective.
I understand that you came to blows the night in question.
It was me, Inspector. I arrest you for the murder of Leo Coppernick.
No.
We have a serial killer on the loose.
Please, stand back!
He keeps the key. Under the mat. We are no longer merely suspects. We are also potential victims.
So what did he do that made you suspicious? It wasn't so much what he did, it was more the way he did it. How did he do it? Sort of suspiciously. Right.
The Databank official UK and Ireland box office charts was compiled by Comscore for and on behalf of the Film Distributors Association Limited. Well, normally at this time we would play the theatrical trailer for whichever movie we've taken the week's soundtrack from. But in light of there isn't any such soundtrack or movie this week, have a little listen to some of the songs that were popular in the year that Queen Elizabeth II was born, because after all it was silent movies, so little clips of silent movies from 1926 is a little bit hard to put over on radio. Here is Leo Reisman and his orchestra and Birth of the Blues. This was number one. actually pretty good, isn't it? So, top-selling song for most of 1926, the year that Queen Elizabeth II was born. Leo Reisman and his orchestra and Birth of the Blues. And also from 1926, French-based dancer Josephine Baker. Well, she was dancing up a storm in the Charleston, you know. Classic that. Yes, Josephine Baker as well, dancing up a storm in the Charleston. So from 1926. The first newsreel clip we're going to play you is what is classed as Princess Elizabeth's first broadcaster as a 14-year-old in 1940.
Delightful to all who heard her was Princess Elizabeth's first broadcast addressed to children who have gone overseas.
All of us children who are still at home think continually of our friends and relations who have gone overseas, who have traveled thousands of miles to find a wartime home and a kindly welcome in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and the United States of America. My sister and I feel we know quite a lot about these countries. Our father and mother have so often talked to us of their visits to different parts of the world. So it is not difficult for us to picture the sort of life you are all leading, and to think of all the new sights you must be seeing, and the adventures you must be having. But I am sure that you too are often thinking of the old country. We know, every one of us, that in the end all will be well, for God will care for us and give us victory and peace. And when peace comes, remember, it will be for us, the children of today, to make the world of tomorrow a better and happier place. My sister is by my side, and we are both going to say good night to you. Come on, Margaret. Good night, children. Good night, and good luck to you all.
And next we joined Princess Elizabeth on 21st of April 1947, which just so happens to be Elizabeth's 21st birthday. And yes, it's on this day that she made a really powerful message from South Africa.
Her Royal Highness Princess Elizabeth, speaking from South Africa on her 21st birthday, marks the occasion with this simple but historic message.
Let me begin by saying thank you to all the thousands of kind people who have sent me messages of goodwill. This is a happy day for me, but it is also one that brings serious thoughts. Thoughts of life looming ahead with all its challenges and with all its opportunity. Will you, the youth of the British family of nations, let me speak on my birthday as your representative. Now that we are coming to manhood and womanhood, it is surely a great joy to us all to think that we shall be able to take some of the burden off the shoulders of our elders who have fought and worked and suffered to protect our childhood. If we all go forward together, with an unwavering faith, a high courage, and a quiet heart, we shall be able to make of this ancient Commonwealth, which we all love so dearly, an even grander thing, more free, more prosperous, more happy, and a more powerful influence for good in the world than it has been in the greatest days of our forefathers. To accomplish that, we must give nothing less than the whole of ourselves. There is a motto which has been borne by many of my ancestors, a noble motto, I serve. Those words were an inspiration to many bygone heirs to the throne when they made their knightly dedication as they came to manhood. I cannot quite do as they did, but through the inventions of science, I can do what was not possible for any of them. I can make my solemn act of dedication with the whole empire listening. I should like to make that dedication now. It is very simple. I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and to the service of our great imperial family to which we all belong. But I shall not have strength to carry out this resolution alone, unless you join in it with me, as I now invite you to do. I know that your support will be unfailingly given. God help me to make good my vow, and God bless all of you who are willing to share in it.
Okay, well, next we turn to the newsreel cameras, and they put together a little biography of the Princess Elizabeth's life up to her 21st birthday. So let's join one of those now.
This is the Gaumont British News, presenting the world to the world. Greeting Princess Elizabeth's coming of age, our thoughts turn to the beginning of 21 eventful years. Born on April the 21st, 1926, the infant daughter of the Duke and Duchess of York was christened Elizabeth Alexandra Mary and affectionately welcomed as the Empire's baby. This early film records the little princess's greeting to passers-by during a drive with her nurse. One of her most treasured possessions was the famous miniature house given to her by the people of Wales. At the age of 5 1/2, the princess was a bridesmaid at the wedding of her cousin, Lady May Cambridge, and enjoyed, like any other little girl of her age, the thrill of her first long dress. 1935, and the silver jubilee of King George V. An unforgettable time for the king's granddaughter, now joined by her sister, Princess Margaret. From the balcony of Buckingham Palace, their dearly loved grandfather shared with them the splendid climax of his memorable reign. Thanks to their parents' wisdom, the two princesses grew up quietly and naturally, playing games and learning lessons in the seclusion of an ordinary home life. Events like the Aldershot tattoo were eagerly looked forward to by Princess Elizabeth, who appreciated the martial glamour to the full. Fateful events were to follow, and soon Britain was acclaiming her new king, George VI. A heavy burden had fallen upon the shoulders of the former Duke of York, but unflinchingly he began his great task, supported and encouraged by the strength of a happy family life. Now followed the coronation with all its ancient and magnificent pageantry. From a gallery in Westminster Abbey, Queen Mary and her granddaughters followed the solemn ceremony of allegiance to the crown. Truly a day of supreme destiny for the king's elder daughter, who now held an even dearer place in our hearts as heiress presumptive to the throne. A little later, the Girl Guide movement claimed plenty of attention. Princess Elizabeth became a patrol leader, but was still grateful for a sister's helping hand. War clouds were gathering over Europe, and in the shadow of Munich, the princess accompanied her mother to the launching of the liner which bears her name. 1939, and their Majesties prepare for many weeks' separation from their children, as together they study the map of the royal tour of Canada. A parting that was all too long, and then their Majesties return. Driving home, Princess Elizabeth was too overjoyed even to mind when her hat blew off at the palace gates. And now, from the years of peace to the Second World War. On her 16th birthday, the princess was created Colonel of the Grenadier Guards, an appointment in which both she and the regiment took particular pride. As often as possible during their wartime duties, their Majesties joined their daughters in the country life they all love. Here at Sandringham, the royal family took part in the harvest activities so vital in peace and war alike. Constant companions were the faithful dogs, successors of early childhood pets. The princess's skill on horseback is well known, and her 18th birthday was celebrated with a ride in Windsor Great Park. 1943, and at her own request, the princess became a member of the ATS. Starting as a complete novice, she passed out as a fully qualified driver, having gone through the mill just like anybody else. Visiting the training centre, Princess Margaret found her sister wrestling with some engine trouble, while the King and Queen gave an approving smile to their daughter in khaki. Victory in Europe, and the princess, still in uniform, stands with her parents on that historic palace balcony. A national rejoicing at a time of great deliverance, later celebrated by the Victory Parade. From now on, the princess's round of activities became busier yet. At Belfast, she named the new aircraft carrier Eagle, and during that visit acted as godmother to a friend's baby daughter. Back in London, a visit to the circus reflected the princess's wholehearted enjoyment of a really good laugh. Another delightful royal occasion was the wedding of Lord Mountbatten's daughter Patricia, whose bridal attendants included both the princesses. At the church door, Prince Philip of Greece, now Lieutenant Mountbatten, lends a hand with the coats. Another new chapter begins with the voyage to South Africa aboard HMS Vanguard, a great adventure and a very happy journey. The arrival at Cape Town, and the first of many unfading memories of loyalty and unbounded affection towards the Crown and all for which it stands. Opening a new graving dock in East London was the princess's first public duty in the Union, and her speech was particularly warmly received.
I now have great pleasure in declaring the Princess Elizabeth graving dock open.
Here, too, there was opportunity for a favourite pastime, as both princesses enjoyed a canter beside the Indian Ocean along the shores of Bonza Bay. More long days of journeying were to follow, with new and stirring horizons making a fitting prelude to a royal coming of age. And so, on her 21st birthday, we proudly and affectionately greet our princess, a living symbol of the new generation in whose young hands will lie the future happiness of mankind.
there, of course, we had Jerusalem, and our next news item, well, there's no prizes for guessing what it's about when I tell you that it's titled Royal Betrothal.
This is Movie Tone. Lionel Gamlin reporting. It is with the greatest pleasure that the King and Queen announce the betrothal. With these opening words, the court circular issued from Buckingham Palace confirmed popular rumour concerning the engagement of Her Royal Highness Princess Elizabeth, heiress presumptive to the throne.
Yes.
Today, from all over the world, congratulations and every possible good wish are offered to her and to Lieutenant Philip Mountbatten. It was at the wedding of Lord Mountbatten's daughter that Prince Philip of Greece, as he was then, was first seen with the royal family in newsreel pictures. Later, he gave up his title and became British by naturalization. He was already British by residence and education and by service in the Royal Navy. Pictures like this one of the princess with her sister going to church near Balmoral are among the earliest taken of her. At a naval review, Lord Mountbatten, then Commander Lord Louis, tells Princess Elizabeth about the warships and naval procedure. At St. Paul's during King George V's Jubilee in 1935. She was then 9 years old. And at the coronation, when her father and mother became king and queen, she stood first in succession to the throne. These pictures of the young princess and her sister everyone will remember, and here are others taken in the privacy of the palace grounds. They were made a few weeks before their majesties paid their historic trip to Canada and America. More pictures, too, showing the royal family at home are certainly among the best remembered records of the princess's early years. War came, and in addition to all the comprehensive and specialized preparation for the great part she is destined to play, Princess Elizabeth served in the ATS. Since the war, the most outstanding service undertaken by the royal family has been the tour of South Africa. On the outward voyage in HMS Vanguard, there was time for relaxation, and the young princess certainly made the most of it. It was at East London that she performed a public ceremony alone, and after opening the graving dock, the princess was presented with a handsome gift of diamonds as a memento of the occasion. On a nearby beach, she and her sister went riding in the early morning, incidentally affording one of the most charming studies of the tour. It was during the visit to South Africa that Her Royal Highness celebrated her 21st birthday. Her speech, broadcast to Empire and Commonwealth, included these solemn words.
I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and to the service of our great imperial family to which we all belong.
A recent event of historic importance was the presentation to Her Royal Highness of the freedom of the City of London. Here she is signing the roll. As Colonel of the Grenadier Guards, Princess Elizabeth rode with the King and the Duke of Gloucester to the colour trooping parade. This was one of her last public ceremonial appearances before the announcement of her betrothal. It was at a garden party at Buckingham Palace, held just afterwards, that with the royal family, the princess and her fiancé first publicly appeared together. It must have been a great delight to all those guests who had the opportunity of offering their congratulations in person. Princess Elizabeth and Lieutenant Mountbatten, looking very happy, thanked one guest after another for all the good wishes. And I feel sure they must have realized that at this time also, millions in Britain and the Commonwealth were thinking of them and their future. Each one of us, indeed, joins in wishing them every possible good fortune and happiness in their life together. In these, the first special studies of the pair since the news of their engagement, it's easy to see the radiant happiness of the princess as she and her very good-looking husband-to-be pose for the cameras in the palace. Pictures marking such an event as this royal engagement would not be complete without focusing for a moment on the diamond and platinum engagement ring. The marriage of the heiress presumptive is naturally a matter of great importance for the future of the Commonwealth. We are conscious of that, and we may feel certain she has made a choice with her head as well as her heart. But for the moment, it is a glimpse of two very happy people which appeals to us. For the moment, we are all, to some extent, sharing the romance of a young couple who, because they are so well known, symbolize for us the age-old persistence of that quality which makes the world go round. In the evening, Londoners who had been waiting outside the palace for hours made their feelings perfectly clear when the princess and her fiancé came out onto the balcony. The royal family joined them for a while and the cheering rose again. The final scene was reserved for the princess and the gallant officer she is to marry. We echo the thought behind those cheers, God bless them.
And next we join Princess Elizabeth on a visit to Portsmouth.
At Portsmouth, the Lord Lieutenant of Hampshire, the Lord Mayor and service chiefs welcome Princess Elizabeth on a short visit to the city. Her Royal Highness is received at the new Officers' Club built by the Nuffield Trust by Lord and Lady Nuffield and the C&C Portsmouth Admiral Sir Arthur Power. The club, which is to open to the three services, already has a membership of 1,200. In the entrance hall is a memorial plaque which the Princess unveils. After signing the visitor's book to keep everything shipshape, the Princess joins the company for the opening ceremony.
I have much pleasure in declaring open this club, given by Lord Nuffield for the use and enjoyment of officers and their families of the three services.
After lunch at the club, the Princess visits the Connaught Drill Hall. Badly damaged in an air raid 10 years ago, it's been rebuilt for the use of the 383rd Light Regiment Royal Artillery Territorial Army. Now Her Royal Highness is to reopen the drill hall and dedicate it to its purpose. If only the lock will yield to persuasion. Inside, more than 2,000 await the Princess. Restored to their old quarters, the regiment remembers its old comrades. And representatives from many territorial regiments are present to add their tribute on this solemn occasion.
officers and men of this regiment who gave their lives for king and country in the South African War and in the 2 World Wars.
And now comes the great moment, as the Provost hands back the regimental colours long stored in Portsmouth Cathedral for safekeeping. And now, as the Princess watches, the 383rd proudly march away their colours to their own safekeeping, and the Princess's official visit comes to an end.
And now it's back to the music, and most of the music from now on was actually played at Queen Elizabeth II's coronation in 1953, and this is Elgar and Pomp and Circumstance March number 1. When King George VI died, Princess Elizabeth and Prince Philip were up a treehouse in Kenya. It was the Treetops Hotel, and it was in Nairobi, the capital of Kenya. And it's absolutely true. Yes, she was up a treehouse when he died.
This is Movie Turn. Leslie Mitchell reporting. The King's Troop, Royal Horse Artillery, ride to Hyde Park. Their duty, the firing of a 56-gun salute, 1 round for each year of the late King's life. At the Tower, the salute is fired by the Honourable Artillery Company. One reign has ended, a reign begins. At London Airport, waiting to meet Queen Elizabeth II, are the Duke of Gloucester and Lord Mountbatten. The Prime Minister is there, and the Leader of the Opposition. With members of Her Majesty's government, all await the Queen's arrival. Her tour cut short by the tragic passing of her father, Queen Elizabeth leaves the Argonaut. There is no ceremony, but all thoughts for her at this sorrowful homecoming. She knows she has the true sympathy and loyal support of her ministers and her people. With Prince Philip, she thanks the crew of the Argonaut for their services. The arrival, the greetings and the handshakes, all quickly over, are followed by the drive to a capital in mourning. Next day, St. James's Palace was the scene of the reading of the proclamation following the Queen's attendance at the Accession Council meeting. In the presence of the Duke of Norfolk, Earl Marshal, the proclamation was read by the Garter King of Arms, Sir George Bellew.
With one voice and consent of tongue and heart, publish and proclaim that the high and mighty Princess Elizabeth Alexandra Mary is now, by the death of our late sovereign of happy memory, become Queen Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen of this realm, and of all her...
The historic proclamation was also made at other points in the capital. Large crowds heard it read at Charing Cross, and there was a similar ceremony at Temple Bar. Many Londoners also gathered near the Royal Exchange to hear it read there. Clarenceux, King of Arms, Sir Arthur Cochrane, officiated, the proclamation ending,
God save the Queen. Hip, hip. Hooray! Hip, hip. Hooray! Hip, hip. Hooray!
Queen Elizabeth II was born in April 1926, and from birth she was third in line of succession to the throne. At no time could pictures of her early life and upbringing be more appropriate than now, at the moment of her accession. Many will remember these pictures of her as a little girl, and as we look at them again, we see how natural a charm they express. She was brought up with the greatest care and affection, but also, as Queen Mary is reported to have said, she was brought up sensibly. At a naval review, she learnt about ships from Lord Louis Mountbatten. On regal occasions, as for instance at her father's coronation, she was regal too. A picture this of special historic interest, for now her own coronation lies ahead. Equally delightful pictures are those that show her enjoying happy days at home. Then, as she grew up, the emphasis was on service and duty. For example, she underwent the training of a sea ranger.
Watch is proved ready for inspection. Thank you, Grayson.
Her sister was, of course, her constant companion, and the measure of freedom and relaxation that they enjoyed together was always a feature of her life at this time. She came of age at 18.
Yes?
It was at this period that she acted as Councillor of State. Already, her royal duties began to multiply. It was after her father's tour to South Africa that the joyful news of her engagement to Prince Philip was announced. They had first met when they were children, but as yet the prince was scarcely known to the people of Britain. Their wedding was acclaimed by nation and commonwealth, and in the years that followed, her consort quickly won the esteem and affection of the country. Their son was born in November 1948, and early pictures of Prince Charles, now heir apparent to the throne, underline the joy of his parents. Their happiness was shared by the people of Britain, and this picture turns, so to speak, a new page in the royal family album. When later the king's illness prevented his attending the trooping ceremony, his daughter deputized for him. It was an occasion that laid stress on the fact that more and more she was already undertaking the public duties that fall to a sovereign. Then came the tremendously successful tour of Canada and the homecoming. Watching the affectionate greetings, we also remember the strenuous nature of the task that had just been carried out. We remember too that it was one example of the fulfillment of a promise. For some years earlier, Her Majesty, speaking then as heiress presumptive, had made her declaration of service to the nation. It is well that we should listen to it again.
I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and to the service of our great imperial family to which we all belong. But I shall not have strength to carry out this resolution alone, unless you join in it with me, as I now invite you to do. I know that your support will be unfailingly given. God help me to make good my vow, and God bless all of you who are willing to share in it.
obviously green sleeves, and if you don't know the historical value of that so far as the royal family go, then maybe you should Wikipedia green sleeves and find out for yourself. And it's at this point of the show where we would normally have our intermission break. But taking us up to our break in between hours 1 and 2 is Zadok the Priest. It's a beautiful bit of music which is 295 years old, and it's played at every coronation, including Elizabeth II's.
Sound production, take 2.
Nick Prince.
Welcome back to part 2 of this week's Movie Madness with Nick Prince. It's time to take a look at the week's brand new releases. Starting a week commencing Friday 16th of September 2022. And up first is Clerks 3. And Clerks 3 is Dante, Elias, and Jay and Silent Bob are enlisted by Randall after a heart attack to make a movie about a convenience store that started it all.
90s, son!
Yeah.
It's my breath, man.
Not quite my scene.
Try mouth stuff?
What is this?
Ben Affleck, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Rosario Dawson, Justin Long.
I need an ambulance at the Quick Stop.
Directed by Kevin Smith.
My life, man. Wish I had a
It's a 15 certificate.
Talking about. Sit around and watch the same movies over and over.
I always thought you could have made a cool movie.
You're right. I'm living on borrowed time. No more watching movies.
Yeah, okay. Up next is Hallelujah, Leonard Cohen, A Journey, A Song. Carries a 12A certificate. It's an exploration of the life of singer-songwriter Leonard Cohen as seen through the prism of his internationally renowned hymn, Hallelujah.
Or you say hallelujah.
I was a young reporter for Rolling Stone magazine in '74, doing a piece on Leonard. He's so gracious.
I'll leave that one with you. I'm not a big fan at all. I can't tell you what I really think. Opening at IMAX only is Moon Age Daydream. Yes, David Bowie in this one. It opens at all normal cinemas from Friday 23rd of September, so only another week to go.
Are you there, David?
Moon Age Daydream illuminates the life and genius of David Bowie, one of the most prolific and influential artists of our time. That is, illuminates, not eliminates, you know.
Indeed, there is no beginning, no.
Directed by Brett Morgan, carries a 15 certificate.
You find yourself struggling to comprehend a deep mystery.
I can see this one doing a future soundtrack in the next few weeks. This could be a really big one. Also opening is Ticket to Paradise. It carries a 12A certificate. Cast of George Clooney and Julia Roberts. Wasn't looking too bad. Maybe the light was kind on her this week. It's directed by Owl Parker. And a divorced couple that teams up and travels to Bali to stop their daughter from making the same mistake they think they made 25 years ago.
Somewhere else.
Don't want to spoil it for anyone, but they end up getting on rather well.
They married for 5.
I'm counting the recovery.
In 4 days' time.
Our daughter's going to marry a guy she just met in Bali.
Not my movie of the week, but it comes recommended.
It's like I looked up for the first time and realized everything I ever wanted was right in front of me.
She's throwing her career away.
Just like her mother did. So I'm the only one who can stop her. She doesn't listen to him. Oh, champagne. Oh, 2, please.
Just leave the bottle. Thank you.
I won't let her throw her life away. We need to trick her into dumping him. As much as this will pain us both, we have to call a truce to make this work.
Next up is Funny Pages, and it carries an 18 certificate.
I've had a lot of time to think, and I made the decision I'm not going to go back to school after winter break.
What?
Ooh, ain't got no home.
Obviously, you need to hear this. You're already at a professional level of drawing for what you want to do. Everything in your portfolio...
Well, that's produced by the Safdie brothers, and Owen Klein's directorial debut is a coming-of-age tale about a wannabe cartoonist reaching a crucial point in his life. A scuzzy, dark comedy, apparently, so Curzon say, that makes you gag and laugh at the same time.
Oh. Tran?
Go easy on that popcorn, then.
Where would I be staying?
Stephen's room. Hi there.
Hey.
I think we go to the next one now, somehow. And up next is In From the Side. It carries a 15 certificate.
Well, it's a tough game. I think I'm going to be walking funny for a few days after that.
Well, it's a British movie.
Now, for man of the match, well done, Mark Newton.
I think it's based around a rugby team where everybody in the team is homosexual and they all start carrying on with each other.
I'm Warren. Think you're right.
Wrong shaped balls for me, I can assure you.
He's in my team.
And that was just the sport. So yeah, 15 certificate for all that malarkey. And last but not least is Strawberry Mansion. Carries a 12 certificate. On demand at home and in the cinema. But in the cinema it still remains a 12, not a 12A. Okay?
Arrived at the home of Arabella Isadora on September 22nd, 2035. I'm here to perform a preliminary audit. It appears we have no tax records for you or your property.
Ooh.
And I couldn't help but notice all the tapes have been not updated to the new format. You know, the air sticks became mandatory 7 years ago.
I guess I lost track of time.
Oh, plenty to be getting on with this week. Okay, well, let's get back to the music. And yes, the life of Princess Elizabeth, or Queen Elizabeth II, if you prefer. And yes, seen through the eyes of the old British cinema newsreels. And it's 1952, and it is the time for Queen Elizabeth II's very first Christmas message.
Each Christmas at this time, my beloved father broadcast a message to his people in all parts of the world. Today, I am doing this to you, who are now my people. As he used to do, I am speaking to you from my own home, where I am spending Christmas with my family. And let me say at once how I hope that your children are enjoying themselves as much as mine are, on a day which is especially the Children's Festival, kept in honor of the child born at Bethlehem nearly 2,000 years ago. Most of you to whom I am speaking will be in your own homes, but I have a special thought for those who are serving their country in distant lands far from their families. Wherever you are, either at home or away, in snow or in sunshine, I give you my affectionate greetings with every good wish for Christmas and the New Year. At Christmas, our thoughts are always full of our homes and our families. This is the day when members of the same family try to come together, or if separated by distance or events, meet in spirit and affection by exchanging greetings. But we belong, you and I, to a far larger family. We belong, all of us, to the British Commonwealth and Empire, that immense union of nations with our homes set in all the four corners of the earth. Like our own families, it can be a great power for good, a force which I believe can be of immeasurable benefit to all humanity. My father and my grandfather before him worked all their lives to unite our peoples ever more closely and to maintain its ideals, which were so near to their hearts. I shall strive to carry on their work. Already you have given me strength to do so, for since my accession 10 months ago, your loyalty and affection have been an immense support and encouragement. I want to take this Christmas Day, my first opportunity, to thank you with all my heart. Many grave problems and difficulties confront us all, but with a new faith in the old and splendid beliefs given us by our forefathers, and the strength to venture beyond the safeties of the past, I know we shall be worthy of our duty. Above all, we must keep alive that courageous spirit of adventure that is the finest quality of youth. And by youth, I do not just mean those who are young in years. I mean, too, all those who are young in heart, no matter how old they may be. That spirit still flourishes in this old country and in all the younger countries of our Commonwealth. On this broad foundation, let us set out to build a truer knowledge of ourselves and our fellow men, to work for tolerance and understanding among the nations, and to use the tremendous forces of science and learning for the betterment of man's lot upon this earth. If we can do these three things with courage, with generosity, and with humility, then surely we shall achieve that peace on earth, goodwill toward men, which is the eternal message of Christmas and the desire of us all. At my coronation next June, I shall dedicate myself anew to your service. I shall do so in the presence of a great congregation drawn from every part of the Commonwealth and Empire, while millions outside Westminster Abbey will hear the promises and the prayers being offered up within its walls, and see much of the ancient ceremony in which kings and queens before me have taken part through century upon century. You will be keeping it as a holiday, but I want to ask you all, whatever your religion may be, to pray for me on that day, to pray that God may give me wisdom and strength to carry out the solemn promises I shall be making, and that I may faithfully serve him and you all the days of my life. May God bless and guide you all through the coming year.
And now we bring you the coronation, and it's a different newsreel to the one that we heard do the coronation last week.
London, the morning of Tuesday, June the 2nd, the morning of Coronation Day. A new day dawns. Slowly the first rays of chill light creep across the face of the royal city, lighting upon thousands huddled along the roof. A cold, damp morning, but in their hearts there is a warmth beyond description. From the farthest corners of the world they have come to see the First Lady of our nation journey in rich majesty to her crowning. The throb of excitement grows, for within the palace the Queen prepares to ride to Westminster. And now to herald her, the trumpets ring out. Her husband is by her side, and from a window their children look with wonder upon this proud scene, the streets of the Queen's capital. Slowly it moves into the forecourt of her palace. A day of history has begun. Away into the Mall turns Her Majesty's procession. Into Trafalgar Square ride men of the Household Cavalry, by tradition the guardians of Her Majesty throughout her reign. Through Admiralty Arch comes the coach to a roar of welcome from the waiting thousands. The Duke of Edinburgh wears the full dress uniform of Admiral of the Fleet as he rides with his wife and Queen. Meanwhile to the Abbey, a mother comes to see her daughter crowned. Beside this gracious lady sits Princess Margaret. The coach of state turns from the embankment towards Parliament Square. The Queen's procession to her crowning is almost done. To the richly ornamented annex of the Abbey comes Sir Winston Churchill, Her Majesty's First Minister. Now the Queen Mother enters to join the loyal congregation gathered within. Upon the annex steps, the Earl Marshal waits. The coach, which through the centuries has borne 6 monarchs to their coronations, has never carried one more fitted for the tasks of sovereignty than she who now is to be crowned. The congregation rises as Her Majesty walks in stately procession through the body of the church towards the Coronation Theatre. The Queen moves to her chair of estate, assisted by her 6 maids of honor. The Queen walks with great calm and dignity to King Edward's chair. Here she stands, facing in turn the 4 sides of the Abbey, and the Archbishop of Canterbury presents her to her people for acceptance as their Queen.
Sirs, I here present unto you Queen Elizabeth, your undoubted Queen. Wherefore all you who are come this day to do your homage and service, are you willing to do the same?
The full ceremony of recognition ended, the Queen returns to her chair of estate to take the solemn oath of dedication to her subjects.
Madam, is your Majesty willing to take the oath?
I am willing.
Will you solemnly promise and swear to govern the peoples of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the Union of South Africa, Pakistan, and Ceylon, and of your possessions and the other territories to any of them belonging or pertaining, according to their respective laws and customs?
I solemnly promise so to do.
Now Her Majesty receives a copy of the Holy Bible from the hands of the moderator of the General Assembly of the Church of Scotland as the most valuable thing that this world affords. Divested of her rich robes of state and jewels, the Queen is clothed in a simple white robe. For now begins the anointing ceremony by which she is consecrated to be God's anointed servant. Her Majesty moves to King Edward's chair, over which a splendid canopy of silk and gold borne by 4 Knights of the Garter will be placed. With holy oil from the golden ampulla, the Archbishop of Canterbury is to anoint Her Majesty with the sign of the cross. From the royal gallery, her son, Prince Charles, watches the sacred consecration. Following her anointing, the Queen is now able to receive the emblems of majesty. About her is placed the Colobium Sindonis, a shimmering gown of pure gold, together with a girdle. The Queen returns to King Edward's chair, there to receive her royal regalia. special significance is attached to each piece of regalia. The jewelled sword of state is presented to the Queen by the Archbishop, who bids her use it for the punishment of evildoers and for the protection of the law-abiding. Her Majesty moves to the altar to offer the sword, signifying that the Crown places it at the disposal of the Church. Upon the Queen's wrists are placed the armills, bracelets which symbolize the bond which unites her with her people. Now the robe royal is put upon the Queen with the words, "The Lord clothe you with the robe of righteousness and with the garments of salvation." The orb of gold, signifying the dominion of the cross over the world. Count Woolton, as Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, offers the glove, symbolizing gentleness in levying taxes. Now the royal scepter, the ensign of kingly power and justice. The rod with the dove, signifying that equity and mercy are never to be forgotten. Now follows the supreme climax of the ancient ritual. With St. Edward's son, the Crown of England, the Archbishop performs the simple, yet the most significant ceremony of the Queen's coronation. Thus elevated by the combined power of church and state, the Queen moves to the throne to receive the homage of her princes and peers. The Duke of Edinburgh comes to vow lifelong allegiance to his Queen. The homage draws to a close, and following the celebration of Holy Communion, which forms the framework of the service, the Queen moves for a short recess to St. Edward's Chapel. Within the chapel, the Queen's robe royal is changed for a robe of purple velvet, and her crown replaced with the imperial state crown. When she appears to join her procession, the service of coronation has ended. The 9 processions which accompanied the guests of the Abbey join into one enormous column to advance before Her Majesty on the journey back to the palace. Queen Charlotte of Tonga waves a warm greeting. Up Whitehall heads the procession. Marching in perfect precision are the Royal Marines. Through Trafalgar Square moves the coach, on towards Piccadilly, the first stage of the extended route through the capital. Already the head of the procession is passing up East Carriage Drive and through Marble Arch. Men from nearly 50 lands over which the Queen holds sway are united in the mammoth parade that is the Empire's tribute to their sovereign lady. Riding in the great procession are 4 field marshals, Montgomery, Ironside, Alexander and Auchinleck. Again the golden coach moves into the Mall, and those who cheered Her Majesty's procession to the Abbey acclaim her again, Elizabeth, the crowned Queen of Great Britain and the Commonwealth. In triumph, the Queen returns to her palace, which she left more than 5 hours before. As the coach moves away from sight, the crowd surges forward in a spontaneous gesture of affection. Now, to delight the thousands below, the Queen and her family step onto the balcony. And with what pride shall those who watch recall in after years, I saw the Queen on Coronation Day. The royal party glance up as squadrons of RAF jet fighters sweep past in tribute. Elizabeth, so proud a name she bears, one that spelled greatness for our country in another age. Elizabeth, crowned the head of a great family of nations. Long may she reign.
And next up, we have a listen to the Christmas broadcast from 1957. Now, this was the very first Christmas message from the Queen, that or any monarch, that was actually televised as well as going out on radio and in the cinemas.
Happy Christmas. 25 years ago, my grandfather broadcast the first of these Christmas messages. Today is another landmark, because television has made it possible for many of you to see me in your homes on Christmas Day. My own family often gather round to watch television, as they are at this moment, and that is how I imagine you now. I very much hope that this new medium will make my Christmas message more personal and direct. It's inevitable that I should seem a rather remote figure to many of you, a successor to the kings and queens of history, someone whose face may be familiar in newspapers and films, but who never really touches your personal lives. But now, at least for a few minutes, I welcome you to the peace of my own home. That it's possible for some of you to see me today is just another example of the speed at which things are changing all around us. Because of these changes, I'm not surprised that many people feel lost and unable to decide what to hold on to and what to discard, how to take advantage of the new life without losing the best of the old. But it's not the new inventions which are the difficulty. The trouble is caused by unthinking people who carelessly throw away ageless ideals as if they were old and outworn machinery. They would have religion thrown aside, morality in personal and public life made meaningless, honesty counted as foolishness, and self-interest set up in place of self-restraint. At this critical moment in our history, we will certainly lose the trust and respect of the world if we just abandon those fundamental principles which guided the men and women who built the greatness of this country and Commonwealth. Today, we need a special kind of courage, not the kind needed in battle, but a kind which makes us stand up for everything that we know is right, everything that is true and honest. We need the kind of courage that can withstand the subtle corruption of the cynics, so that we can show the world that we are not afraid of the future. It has always been easy to hate and destroy. To build and to cherish is much more difficult. That's why we can take a pride in the new Commonwealth we are building. This year, Ghana and Malaya joined our brotherhood. Both these countries are entirely self-governing. Both achieved their new status amicably and peacefully. This advance is a wonderful tribute to the efforts of men of goodwill who have worked together as friends. And I welcome these two countries with all my heart. Last October, I opened the new Canadian Parliament. And as you know, this was the first time that any sovereign had done so in Ottawa. Once again, I was overwhelmed by the loyalty and enthusiasm of my Canadian people. Also during 1957, my husband and I paid visits to Portugal, France, Denmark, and the United States of America. In each case, the arrangements and formalities were managed with great skill, but no one could have managed the welcome we received from the people. In each country, I was welcomed as head of the Commonwealth and as your representative. These nations are our friends, largely because we've always tried to do our best to be honest and kindly, and because we have tried to stand up for what we believe to be right. In the old days, the monarch led his soldiers on the battlefield, and his leadership at all times was close and personal. Today, things are very different. I cannot lead you into battle. I do not give you laws or administer justice. But I can do something else. I can give you my heart and my devotion to these old islands and to all the peoples of our brotherhood of nations. I believe in our qualities and in our strength. I believe that together we can set an example to the world which will encourage upright people everywhere. I would like to read you a few lines from Pilgrim's Progress, because I'm sure we can say, with Mr. Valiant for truth, these words: "Though with great difficulty I am got hither, yet now I do not repent me of all the trouble I have been at to arrive where I am. My sword I give to him that shall succeed me in my pilgrimage, and my courage and skill to him that can get it. My marks and scars I carry with me, to be a witness for me that I have fought his battles, who now will be my rewarder." I hope that 1958 may bring you God's blessing and all the things you long for. And so I wish you all, young and old, wherever you may be, all the fun and enjoyment and the peace of a very happy Christmas.
And we're now in 1977, and Movie Tone News, who were still with us then, they celebrated the Queen's Silver Jubilee as well. And here is an entire newsreel from that year.
Royal residence of Windsor Castle, and at the head of the Long Walk a giant beacon waits to set in motion the nationwide celebrations of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth's Silver Jubilee. 25 eventful and glorious years. In the company of Prince Philip, Her Majesty fires the fuse, which will set alight the first of a chain of Jubilee beacons. This is the signal to be taken up by beacons on other hills. Within minutes, a vast network of fire blazes throughout the land. In the reign of the First Elizabeth, a similar fiery telegraph warned of the coming of the Spanish Armada. But this is a happier time. The Sovereign Standard flies over Buckingham Palace as members of the royal family set off for the service of Thanksgiving at St. Paul's Cathedral. Princess Anne and Captain Mark Phillips. Princess Margaret and her children. In the Scottish state coach, Queen Elizabeth the Queen Mother, accompanied by the Princes Andrew and Edward. In that same golden fairy tale coach that carried her to the coronation in June 1953, Her Majesty and Prince Philip, to the thunderous cheers of hundreds of thousands of her subjects lining the route. London celebrates. This is a gala day for young and old, a once-in-a-lifetime spectacle not to be missed. procession is escorted by the Household Cavalry and a special detachment of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Along the Mall and into Trafalgar Square, Her Majesty is given an ecstatic ovation. Riding behind the carriage, Prince Charles in the uniform of the Welsh Guards. At Temple Bar, the entrance to the City of London, the Lord Mayor awaits the Queen. In a ceremony dating from the time of Richard II, Sir Robin Gillett acknowledges the Queen's sovereignty over the city by presenting her with the Pearl Sword, itself given to the City of London by Queen Elizabeth I. St. Paul's Cathedral, where many have waited stoically through a cold night for just this moment. Already within the cathedral, members of the royal family, Commonwealth leaders, ambassadors and representatives of nations from every corner of the earth. Congregation is led in prayer by the Bishop of London.
Bless, we beseech thee, thy servant Elizabeth, our anointed and consecrated Queen. Direct all her counsels and endeavors to thy glory and the welfare of her subjects. Give us grace to obey her cheerfully for conscience' sake, and let her always possess the hearts of her people. And of thy mercy, bring us all at the last to see thee face to face in the glory which thou hast prepared for all thy good and faithful servants. In Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Leaving St. Paul's for the Guildhall, Her Majesty follows a comparatively recent custom, but one which has endeared her to her subjects. Accompanied by the Lord Mayor, she goes on a walkabout among her people. The simple but heartfelt affection felt for the Queen is nowhere more evident than on occasions like this. It is a bond of mutual respect and friendliness which is as deep as it is spontaneous. A smile, a chat, a friendly word to some unknown face in a crowd, and for the lucky ones, a memory that will always be treasured. Later, at Buckingham Palace, for the teeming crowds around the Victoria Memorial, the day is far from done. Then the moment they've all been waiting for. joining the Queen and the Duke, Prince Charles, the Queen Mother, and Princess Margaret and Princess Anne. It's been quite a day for everyone. Since her reign began, the years between have known happiness and tragedy, fruitfulness and plenty. And through it all, she has kept the soul of Britain and the Commonwealth together with a modest but regal dignity. Queen Elizabeth II, long may she reign.
And we continue with the national anthem, and then there will be 2 minutes silence in memory of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. And that brings us to the end of this week's edition of Movie Madness with Nick Prince. Next week we're staying with the royals and the Queen in particular, and it is a royal night out. My email address is nickprincestudio@gmail.com, and once again nickprincestudio@gmail.com. God bless the Queen, God save the King, long live the King. Bye-bye.
Make